specifically invited that felt sense of, I didn't want you to get into the cognitive description of what is community for you. I was more interested in you feeling, is it possible to feel that interconnection or sense of community? And the purpose of that teaching or that guidance is really that last phrase, that community doesn't just arise. It just doesn't happen randomly, and this is what the Buddha offered. In fact, I have quoted that, one of the resources of this great tradition is it has 37 volumes of, parables and stories and sermons from the Buddha. And often, other traditions have one volume, but we have these 37, 6 of them are devoted to what does it take to create community. It's called the monastic code or the Vinaya. And it's about creating a certain kind of community within the monastic structure. But really, a lot of the teachings are portable to the householder in lay life about how you organize community as a spiritual practice, because just like anything that we experience, everything is part of our practice. It's part of our mindfulness practice. It's part of our compassion practice. It's part of our kindness practice. So one of the stories that I wanted to share is comes from this. It actually comes from several portions of these scriptures, but it shows up in the Vinaya, which is this monastic code, or the code of how to create community. And a lot of this code is about how do we govern ourselves, how do we lead ourselves, because there is no community that can exist without leadership. It just doesn't, sort of like an amoeba, it just doesn't happen. The leadership actually has to emerge from the community itself in order for it to be authentic, to address the needs of the participants themselves. So, about a year before the Buddha's death, there was this. He was one of the kings of the local kingdom. He actually was an ally of Devadatta, which was the cousin that tried to kill the Buddha 3 times. So this king, Ajatasattu, wasn't exactly an ally of the Buddha, but did sit, in his teachings. Even his name, Ajatasattu, you can feel the word Ajata. It's like there's a little bit of nervousness, there's a little bit of agitation in his name itself. Anyway, he sent his prime minister or whatever it was, grand vizier, to the Buddha to tell him that he had the desire, this king had the desire to conquer a people called the Vajjayans, and basically to make war and just take over their territory. And he wanted not only to the Buddha's blessing, but also for the Buddha to share what are the chances of his success of conquering these people. And so the Buddha's response was not about any of those questions. He didn't give a blessing, he didn't give the blessing. He also did not give the blessing. He didn't comment on his chances of overpowering these people. What he did say was that the Vajjayans practiced 7 conditions of welfare that were unassailable, not due to their military strength, but due to their ethical strength. And that's what created the strength of the community. So these conditions were inviting assemblies, which they called councils at the time. So inviting, sort of convening councils and wisely communicating. Having the intention of concord and harmony. honoring the traditions of the teachings, which is the basis of our practice. Respect for elders. Courtesy towards women. And so my footnote to that particular passage, which, the word courtesy can feel diminutive in terms of courtesy because they're frail or, delicate or something. But, what I think is important in this particular phrase is that this is about governance, and that word courtesy opens the door in an age that was highly patriarchal. And so, it just indicates to me how, even in the Buddha's time, his teachings are radical in many different ways. Care and respect paid to places of worship. So what he's inviting is governance as spiritual practice. And the last one is care and support of the teaching and the teachers. So that's practice of Dhamma. That's how the community supports itself, by supporting the teachers and the teachings that are offered to the community. And so, in sort of a very brief sense, that's the intro teaching that I would like to offer for this council that we're going to have today, this community council, which is practice. We don't have it, that frequently, but we have it so that we can touch base and so that you can be mindful of the leadership, and the leadership can be mindful of the community. Again, there's this mutuality that the Buddha invites even into the instructions around mindfulness, which is internal and external. That we're not just here for our own purpose, for our own benefit. Somebody was saying in our study group earlier today that it's so difficult to do this practice alone, and that this sense of community is so important. Even if you don't know that many people here, you get support by, sitting for half an hour, which not everybody can do on a daily basis. So that's my offering of teaching us to that everything about your life, but also about this particular community, is for our awareness and our spiritual practice. So I want to invite Ian and the rest of the board members to come up and join me, and we can just go through some of the markers that we've gone through as a community, and where we're headed, in terms of our trajectory.
Serving in the role of board president, and I've been doing this since December of last year, and it's a true honor to serve this community. When I moved to the desert a few years ago from Seattle, there was no insight meditation community here. I definitely didn't miss the rain and the cold of the Northwest, but I did miss a vibrant community of people to practice with. And because of the people in this room, all of us coming together, I have a place to practice with others, a true spiritual home, and I'm deeply grateful for this. I'm grateful for our wonderful teachers, for our board members past and present, for our generous volunteers and donors, and especially for everybody in this room. All of us who come together week by week to practice and support each other, like Larry said. So tonight we want to follow up on the survey that we made in August. We want to tell you what the board has been doing on behalf of the community, share some of the successes and challenges that we face. We want to offer some vision for the future. We want to get your feedback and ideas, and we want to ask for your support. So the board is going to present for about half an hour, and then we want to hear from you. We'll have at least 15 minutes at the end for questions and comments. If a question comes up as we're presenting, please try and hold on to the thought until the end. After Q&A and comments, we'll have another 30 minutes to enjoy refreshments, which Stephen and Maria have been putting together for us. So please stay and enjoy that. And if there are questions that weren't answered, please feel free to ask us during that time. And also I just want to point out that we're recording this, and we'll record up to the question and answer period, but we just want to be able to share it with people in the community who aren't able to be here tonight. So first I just want to introduce everyone on stage and let you know some of what they do for the organization. So if I forget a committee that you're serving on, which is quite possible, please remind me, because we're serving on a lot of committees. So of course we have Larry Yang, our guiding teacher, who chairs our Teachers Circle and serves on the board and has from the very beginning. Jim Gross, another community teacher who is also our treasurer and chairs the Finance Committee. Adrian Estrada, who serves on program events and also volunteers. We have Greg Vara, who chairs our volunteers committee and also serves on program and events. And Mary Beth Carter, our first board president, who is currently serving as secretary and also on the volunteer committee. Stephen Picard, our chairman of program and events. And that's a lot. And Dwayne Long. And Dwayne Long, who serves on program and events, finance, and also chairs the communications committee. So thank you all for what you're doing. It's really quite amazing. So we have two board members who aren't here right now. Nan Dickinson, who serves on P&E and communications, is traveling, as is Nadine Navarro, who serves on volunteers and communications. Yeah, and Cheryl. Yeah, Cheryl's a board member too, and one of our teachers, and she's in New York for the People's Climate March that's happening today. She's participating with 100,000 other people who are marching to demand action on climate change from world leaders ahead of the UN Climate Summit, which is happening, I think, next week. So over 1,000 organizations are represented, including One Earth Sangha, and many Buddhist leaders and local Sanghas are participating. Oh my gosh, wow. Well, she's in good company. And Beth Mulligan isn't on the board, but she's traveling right now. In case you don't know, she's in Ireland teaching and visiting families. So we wish all of our traveling teachers and board members safety and ease. So we have a unique community. This summer I had the privilege to attend a conference called Intersangha, which was held at Spirit Rock in the Bay Area. For 3 days, more than 70 people working to create sanghas large and small in the US, Mexico, and the UK came together to learn, to share, and to inspire each other. One of the things that I learned in comparing notes with others is that we have come a very long way in a very short time, and that we're really fortunate and unique. We have a group of qualified teachers instead of one or none. We're beyond fortunate to have Larry, Beth, Cheryl, and Jim to teach us. So many sanghas, I talk to sanghas where they really don't have a teacher, or they're between teachers. So we have 4 teachers, which is really incredible and something to be grateful. We have a nationally known guiding teacher, Larry Yang, who's a leading light in the Insight movement and has so generously devoted his time and experience and teaching to our community. The depth of that wisdom and generosity is a gift that very few sanghas ever get to have. And while we have a guiding teacher, the organization is governed by the board, which both empowers and is empowered by our beautiful practice community, all of us. We strengthen each other through shared leadership. We've done in 2.5 years what many other sanghas take 8 or 9 years to do. We built a good size group. We meet weekly. We have regular day-long retreats and class series. We're financially healthy, and we have our nonprofit status, and much more. But so importantly, we're serving a community that wants this and supports it with its time, treasure, and talents. So we're going to pass the mic around, and Mary Beth is going to start by giving us some background on the history of the organization. Sharon, turn
Let's see. Hi, everyone. I have 3 minutes and my speech is 4, so. Well, I moved here in 1999, and when I would meet with other people, I moved here from the San Francisco Bay Area, and like Ian said, I would talk with people and say, do you know is there a mindfulness-based or insight meditation group anywhere here in the Valley? And people say, no, and isn't that unusual? I can't believe it. And so years passed, and we'd ask each other that, and then all of a sudden, one day, I was asked to join with a small group of people at Larry Haynes and Stephen Picard's home in their living room, with some other people who had been doing meditation in the Valley, to talk about what would it take to start a Sangha. And we decided we did want to do that. So that first meeting was in February 2012, and there was about, I think, 13 of us, at the time. And we always are amazed about all the talents that came together. People who knew how to create a website were in that room. People who knew how to do marketing and create beautiful graphics and postcards and materials. Everyone knew how to do something, it seemed, and we all marveled at it. So we worked really hard. We also found a location. We approached Center for Spiritual Living and asked if we could rent their space, which is where we are now. And they said yes. And then we set the date. We decided that on April 29, 2012, we'd have our first meditation meeting. We were all kind of nervous because we thought, is it going to be 13 of us plus a couple more people? Hopefully not just us, but if it is, that's okay, because we want to meditate together. 90 people showed up at that first sitting. 90 people. Well, as you know, it's thinned out a little bit, but actually over the last 2.5 years, it's been at about 40 people per week, and now I think it's up to 50 people a week on average. We have, I think, and we'll hear more from Dwayne, but several hundred people on our mailing list. We're having the day-longs, as Ian said. So then people started saying, well, I'd like to be able to help support Insight Community of the Desert through Donna. But if we could have tax write-off, that would help us too. And we said, well, we are based in the U.S., and this courtesy is available through our government if we incorporate. So we did a fundraiser and raised $1,500 to pay attorney fees and government fees. And in January of 2013, we became incorporated so that if people write checks, that they can be tax deductible. We also focused, when we talked, as you can just imagine, there was nothing in place. So if you talk about process, really long meetings and say, what kind of baskets are we going to have? Who's going to make the sign to put on the Donna basket? What about the bell? Should we have a table? I mean, it was just, we had to decide everything. That was great fun. The other thing we had to decide was our focus, and getting guidance from Larry as well and his experience with different sanghas, as we decided to be more of a democratically based versus a spiritual founder based sangha. And what that means is that our sangha is composed of us. We have our board and our committees, and we have our teachers and our guiding teachers. But our teachers and our guiding teachers actually are set up that they're on term limits. And the board actually selects people each year to be the guest teachers, the guiding teacher, and the regular meditation teachers. So each year we go through, as a board, a process of talking about how is our programming, how are our teachers working, and also our guide, who's going to be our guiding teacher. So that's a process we're involved in right now. As you can tell, it's very serious and it takes lots of meetings to talk about it. But part of the benefit of it is that we are strong as a sangha no matter who is here, because we are us, right? So in terms of being able to be involved, we really encourage you to get on committees, because then that becomes a way to get on the board as well, as that's what's happened with Dwayne and Adrian and Nan, and we encourage other people as well. So we invite you to think about board leadership. And so, who's next?
Craig.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I think I have 3 minutes too, and I probably have a minute and a half. So, I'm looking at everybody else's notes here, and you know. So I just wanted to say, as the chair for the volunteer committee, that we were very pleased at the response for our request for assistance. Many of you stepped up and committed to be of service and really to help out your Sangha. And so we trained several people to become event managers, is a term that we're calling them, and basically from the program and events committee, we have scheduled a lot of events that we need people to help just manage and to set up and that type of thing. So a lot of gratitude for all of you that have stepped up for that. We had a really good response, and so we are in pretty good shape now, I think, through the beginning of next year as far as people helping us with our events and such. We do need people for a couple of our committees. Finance committee is one where we're still seeking a couple of people maybe with some bookkeeping skills. So if any of you, I'm looking around for someone specific that I know that does, where is he? And you know who you are. And you could step up and assist us with that. And also with the communications committee, we will need, I believe, people to distribute flyers. I think specifically right now we're looking for someone in the Cathedral City area. And also, eventually we will need someone to join us and help with social media. And also, I think like doing flyers and graphics and website design or management and that type of thing as well. So we also had two people, who one of them's here now, Scotty, that has stepped up to be a facility person that is trained to open and close for the Sunday events, which has been very helpful. Adrian and I have been doing it, and so this is really great that we can kind of take a step back and allow you guys to do this as well. So did I forget anything? Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Adrian, would you like to talk about our program offerings this year?
Yeah, a lot of exciting things this year. It's hard to put what we've done this year in a metric, but we tried anyway. Our email list stands at about 605 people, just 252 of which joined this year. We're seeing, as Mary Beth brought up, a 40 to 50 attendance rate every week, and we've had Sangha I believe every Sunday this year except for one, in which we had an event that a lot of people from here came to anyway, so you can count that. Our program and events committee and our teachers have come together to design curriculums on the Eightfold Path, most recently, Four Noble Truths, the Paramis, and our day-longs have served over 430 people total.
Thank you very much. And I just want to add to that I want to just acknowledge that as we mature, individual initiatives of service are also interweaving with and informing our community. For example, Cheryl's work on responding to climate change, Jim Gross and Steve Parsons, who are working with inmates at Ironwood Prison in Blythe, Greg's meditation in recovery group, the weekly meditation group that meets Monday nights at UUCOD, which I'm facilitating, and other smaller sitting groups and affinities that have been arising from Commit to Dharma. So this is wonderful stuff, and this is part of our communities maturing and interweaving with others. So actually, I'll hand that to Stephen if you want to talk about the survey results.
Hi, everybody. Blessings. I have the task of presenting the results of the survey to you. I'll try to do that as entertainingly as I possibly can. I have written out notes. I normally teach 6 hours at a time every day that I go out and teach. and I never use notes. So I have notes tonight to not have you here for 6 hours. So here we go. As many of you know, this past summer, we asked you to take a few minutes of your time to complete our community ICD survey. We're delighted that 60 of you decided to participate and take a few minutes to reflect on our community. Most of you responded have been with us for less than a year, although 1/3 of those who responded had been meditating for 1 to 2 years with ICD. A majority of our respondents attend Sunday meditations, occasionally or frequently, and your attendance is about 80, or of those people, about 84% do that. We were very pleased that a majority of people who responded to the survey that attend the Sunday meditations found the experience to be positive and felt that we've created a very friendly atmosphere. When asked what your first experience was like here at ICD, responses received were things like this: a warm welcome, reassurance that the meditation would be positive regardless of our knowledge and level of experience. Another person: I love the Sunday meditation classes and feel fortunate to have these teachings available to our community. When we asked what brought you back here, these were a couple of responses. I felt like I was finally home. The Sangha is what was missing in my life, even though I was not aware of that. And there's something empowering, another person said, calming and soul nurturing about being in a room full of people that are meditating. So many people expressed their gratitude for our teachers. And one person said, I came back because of the teachers, the excellent teachers. So we received a lot of positive feedback on our teachers. Thank you. We asked our Sangha how important it was for us to have a permanent location, okay? And here are the results. 12% of you felt that it was very important. 33% of you felt that it was important, and 32% of you thought it was somewhat important. Over 80% of you felt that having a single and consolidated Sangha location and facility will allow a variety of events to be scheduled at the same location on a weekly basis and will provide a greater experience of community. Some of the comments that were included. This is essential for our community. Another person said, we need a home, one place that serves as a base for all our current activities and available to host other related activities like yoga, chanting, and counseling. There were also concerns expressed about the cost, of course, and some folks do not want to change from this current location. More about that later. In regard to our financial future, over 60% of people responding to our survey indicated that they would be willing to give additional support to ICD for a permanent location. Most people could give an additional $20 per month, but we have several individuals that would be willing to offer more support than that. 83% of our membership feel that they would like the meditation center to be located in Palm Springs. For the other location choices that we offered you, about 1/3 cast your votes for Cathedral City and Rancho Mirage. In regard to our Sunday sittings, a large number of people feel that enough time is allotted for the meditation sittings. 70% of our respondents felt that they were quite satisfied or completely satisfied with the length of the meditation. Over 70% of those responding also indicated that they are quite or completely satisfied with the amount of time allotted to the Dharma talks each week. The vast number of positive comments included comments like this: I think the Dharma talks and teachings are perfect. I like the variety of teaching and the teachers. I appreciate the variety of teachers. In regard to the meditation sittings, several people expressed their interest in having the meditations to be a little bit longer. Some would like the meditations to be entirely silent, while only a few people felt that they should be shorter. There is a mixed review of the value of the discussion portion of the Sunday sittings. It appears that over 60% participate fully or sometimes in the discussions, and 63% found them moderately to completely helpful. When asked what would support practice for new members, I need a podium. Okay. Okay. People said things like offering more talks and classes, Saturday morning classes, book study groups, offer other meditation exercises. For those of you that are more experienced practitioners, here are some of the suggestions you made. Offer more topics for advanced practitioners, meditation retreats with specific themes, Sutta study groups and peer-led groups, and so forth. Have a daily sitting group in the new space. The topics that people that responded to the survey would like to explore are primarily the traditional teachings. 74% of you wanted more about the Noble Truths and the heart. Near that, at 50%, household or practice issues, relationships, work, and family. And about 43% meditation instruction and guidance. Over 80% of the people who completed the study are interested in weekly class series on the beginning meditation for forgiveness. Most people would like the class series to last 3 to 4 weeks. One of the primary goals of our Sangha is to create a diverse and multicultural Sangha. People who took the survey indicated that creating a nurturing environment of welcoming and inclusion was the #1 way to accomplish this goal. In conclusion, I know I'm being timed, I'll tell you that. I know I went over. All right, so in conclusion to our survey, we asked any additional comments. Here are just a few of what we received. I'm grateful for the community, for our teachers, and for the opportunity to serve and practice. I'm just grateful. Glad you are here. Keep up the great work, and thank you for being in our community. And the last comment is my comment. Thanks to all of you for taking the time to complete the survey, and thank you for being here this day to hear the results. We are so blessed to have one another.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Stephen, for creating that survey and getting it out there and analyzing it. Jim, would you like to speak about our finances for a few moments?
Oh, sure. I mean, finances. I appreciate that encouragement. Yeah, I've been here from day one also, and it's been a joy, absolute joy. And it's a joy to be here today and see 2.5 years later what we've all created together. So I love that. As Larry knows, talking about the origins of the Sangha, we had a couple. I was at a couple of retreats up at Joshua Tree in San Francisco, where Larry and I had a couple of conversations. We're both in the process of moving down here to the desert, and you know, my goodness, are they doing anything down in the desert with the Sangha? Are they? Do you think there's possibly, we had those little exploratory conversations, which are kind of, you know, those blue sky things. You know, wouldn't that be lovely? Wouldn't that be lovely? And you heard the story of how Larry did call us together after we got ourselves settled down here. And here, for me, personally, it's almost exactly 5 years since I moved here. And that dream, for me personally, as well as for all of us, is here. So that's great. Anyway, we're going to talk about forward projections here in a minute. But first, I want to set the stage with how are we financially in today's world. Short form story is basically we do okay. We essentially break even. We pretty much bring in what it takes to operate our current Sangha. But the other side of that, and we're going to speak some more about that, is neither are we really substantially in the current world building for our future. One of the things we have not done so far, and we need to start doing, and we will, we've talked about it before, we have not consciously fostered financial reserves because we're just getting started. So we've been breaking even, but not really setting up a reserve. Now, there's a crystal lining on this. There are some people, some of them in this room, who have felt moved to be particularly generous with the Sangha. So the net effect is our first 2 years out, even though we were budgeting break even, year 1 and year 2, each of them generated a $2,500 surplus, which is now in a reserve fund. And again, I mentioned the generosity of others in our Sangha who enabled us over particularly the last year to be even more generous to our own reserve fund. So we now actually have generated a relatively small but still supportive reserve fund of $16,000. So that's really our story in a nutshell in terms of where we are currently, and also kind of what sets the stage for where we will be going forward. I really think that's about it. There are almost always additional questions. I know they can get pretty detailed when one gets into finance. So I'll be around here today, or if at any time you simply have a little financial itch you'd like to scratch, I'm here at your service. Of course I'm stealing that from Larry, because how many times has Larry taught us about, shouldn't we just sit with the itch and see what's on the other side? So maybe that should be my financial teach today. Why don't you just sit with your financial itch and see what's on the other side? But if that's not approachable for you, I'm here at your service gladly. So thank you for being here today and being a part of this beautiful community of practice.
Thank you so much, Jim. Just going to speak a little more to our goals.
You're not rid of me yet. Okay, well, some of you might be wondering why Ian asked us, the chair of the Program and Events Committee, to talk about finding a permanent home for Insight Community of the Desert. So that's my task. And really, he asked me to do this, I think, for primarily two reasons. One is that because I feel deeply and passionately about having a spiritual home of our own, and here in the desert. And second of all, I've seen time and time again as chair of program and events the difficulties and problems with finding appropriate space for the level of events and programming that all of you would like to see our Sangha offer. So let me speak to a few of these 2 points just for a few minutes. Over a number of years, I've been actively involved in quite a few spiritual communities. Each of these communities have had their own space, a space to offer weekly spiritual meetings or services, a space to have various rituals of life's journey, a space to welcome new members, hold celebrations, and to help transition a person from this life to the next. My spiritual home represented a presence in the community, a place to go, to find comfort, to find solace. While our spiritual homes are not necessarily a physical space may really be an essential part of our spiritual practice. For those of us who practice Buddhism or insight meditation, we're accustomed to having a place to gather as a Sangha. It may be a temple, it may be a meditation hall, or a meditation center. A home where we know that we are safe and where we know we can find unconditional love and friendship. So for me, a spiritual home is much more than just a meeting space. It's some building in the community. It is a designated spot where I go consistently to find spiritual comfort. And this leads directly to the second reason why I'm speaking on finding a home for our meditation community. When we started meeting nearly 3 years ago, we knew that eventually we would want to find some sort of a permanent location. An Insight Meditation Community is much more than weekly meditation sittings. It is a place that offers day-long retreats, a variety of sitting groups during the entire week, not just on Sunday, classes for beginning and advanced practitioners, and administrative meetings to support the work of the Sangha. As the Program and Events Committee set out to plan another year of day-long retreats, classes, and special events, here's what we must consider for each additional offering that we provide. 1, what are the topics that interest all of you? Number 2, which of our teachers are interested and prepared to teach on these subjects? Number 3, which of our teachers are available to teach on these subjects? Number 4, which physical venue is best for the particular class or day long? Number 5, what is the cost of the venue? Number 6, does the venue have dates that can accommodate the teaching schedules of our teachers? Number 7, does the rented space have facilities to accommodate walking and sitting meditation? Number 8, who will set up and clean up? The requirements may vary from location to location. Having our location would address a number of these concerns. With our space, we will be able to establish sitting groups throughout the entire week. We'll be able to offer classes when we desire. We will have space for special events and meetings. We can furnish the space as we desire with seating that accommodates all practitioners. For those of you that desire to sit on the floor, you'll be able to do that as well as in a chair. We'll be able to offer day-long retreats with no scheduling problems. We will establish first designated Vipassana meditation center for the Coachella Valley. We can have regular social time and after Sunday, and social time before and after Sunday meditations that can include expanded social activities such as movie nights or book clubs. We can increase our visibility in the community. We'll be able to create a space reflective of our unique community, and we'll be able to schedule all activities without being dependent upon all of those things that I just listed for you. The Buddha said, "A giver of food is a giver of strength. A giver of clothes, a giver of beauty. A giver of vehicle, a giver of ease. A giver of a lamp, a giver of vision. And the one who gives a residence is the one who is the giver of everything." I truly hope in the year ahead we can find a residence and we can establish a meditation center for our community, inside Community of the Desert. Many blessings to all of you.
So, thank you so much. That was beautiful. That's why I asked you to do that. Beautiful. So I want to take a few moments to outline how we can move forward. This Sangha, the people in this room have been so supportive of our community and its growth. The reason that we can even contemplate taking these next steps is because of you. When the board and teachers have asked, you've been incredibly generous with your time and treasure. Our community is strong and it can become stronger and of greater service to the Coachella Valley. We watched while a tiny seed has sprouted and the conditions are ripe for its continued growth. Your energy and your love has brought us to a point where we can move from creating and sustaining the organization to truly growing it and creating a community center for wisdom and compassion in the Coachella Valley. For us to grow, we need a firm financial foundation that will wisely support our intentions. Pledging monthly support is a way to create this at the grassroots level, for all of us to pitch in as we can toward a common goal. So why now? Having our own space and the increased programming that it would allow has been a goal for us since almost the beginning. We talked about it last year at a meeting like this, and since then we've really worked on the how. It's going to take time. Pledges will build our confidence and our community at the same time as they start accruing and build up our reserves. And we think we're ready as a community to begin this next phase of growth. The Board and Finance Committee have done projections and estimates of the funds needed to be able to make the move toward leasing our own space. Finance and Program and Events talked to local leasing agents, visited properties, and have made informed estimates for operating costs, utilities, maintenance, insurance, etc. Stephen Braff, who serves on the Finance Committee, built a model that shows how we might accomplish this by means of pledge support. Leasing our own space is an achievable goal. So how much money will it take? Well, rents and other expenses are a moving target. Our best estimate is $16,000 for fixed costs. That's things like chairs, cushions, window covering, decor, etc. And a $36,000 reserve that will cover space and program expenses for a whole year. So we also need to demonstrate pledge income that will sustain our future operating expenses so that we're not depending on the reserve that we build up, but rather able to pay as we go. We love this organization, and we won't take on a lease until we've demonstrated that the community can support it. So how can it happen? Well, we can start pledging and build up our reserves month by month. Our estimate is that when we have pledging income of $2,500 a month, we'll be in a position to start action. So what kind of support do we have now? Well, without even having asked, 9 individuals are already pledging a total of nearly $500 a month. So we have 20% of the pledges we need, which is a really inspiring place to start. So what more do we need? Well, we need 20 people to pledge $100 a month, or 40 people to pledge $50 a month, or 2,000 people to pledge $1 a month. So the more we pledge, the sooner we can make our intention a reality. And hopefully we'll exceed our target because rents are going up. So what do we have now? Well, the good news is that in addition to the pledging income, we've allocated, as Jim said, $16,000 towards this project. So contributions have been running slightly ahead of expenses each year, and we've had some very generous, larger donations from people, some of whom are in the room tonight, who have been moved to support the Sangha with their incredible generosity. Because of them, and because of all of us giving, we've already been able to earmark this amount towards space. So against the $52,000 that it's our goal to demonstrate, $16,000 in one-time costs involved in furnishing a new space, and $36,000 as a one-year operating reserve, we're almost a third of the way there. So, yeah. Well, thank you for making that possible. It's because of the people in this room, and some who aren't here today too. So I'm here to ask, will you help the Sangha reach our goal? We aspire to build a strong Sangha. We aspire for Insight Community with the Desert to grow in service to the larger community, to the whole Coachella Valley. So we're asking you, we're asking all of us to support the Sangha and strengthen our sense of home and the gift of community. Whatever amount you can pledge is welcome and needed. The more of us individually who pledge, the stronger our community will be. Those of you who come week by week and offer Dana to ICD have gotten us to this point. We're financially healthy. We're asking you to continue your support and consider if you can commit to more, to really establish this community with the presence and the stability that it merits. Think about what you give now and really think about if you can give more. Some of us may not be able to afford to give anything financially. So if you're in a position to afford more, please consider that your gift will directly support others who are less able, and indeed the whole community. Think about where you're taking refuge in your life. Think about what nourishes and sustains you. What's valuable in your life? Your actions make a difference. Where do you want to lend your support? Is a community like the Bajians in Larry's teaching that stands for compassion, wisdom, and inclusiveness, that offers teachings and trainings to support spiritual growth, and which transforms lives worth supporting? Beth pointed out last week that by giving to the Sangha, you're giving to yourself. There is no separation. By sustaining and growing this community, we're not only offering more to the Valley, but we're offering more to and honoring ourselves and our deepest aspirations. I give my time to ICD, and I support it with my Dana because I absolutely believe that what we're doing is helping to make the world a better place. Every time one of us makes a slightly different choice in how we treat ourselves, how we treat others, every time we act with a little more mindfulness, patience, and joy, we're affecting others all around us, and these effects ripple outwards, person by person, making our world just that much more compassionate, that much more gentle, and that much more beautiful. This is an exciting time in the history of our Sangha. It's here because you are here. It's because of the support of everyone in this room. Together we've created something amazing and precious, and we have the opportunity to strengthen it and deepen it for years to come, for ourselves, for our families, our loved ones, and for the wider community. Thank you so much for your support. I know Dwayne is going to... so Dwayne, do you want to describe this process? No. What do you? Maybe tell people about what they're getting.
It is our hope that you'll take this home and read it there rather than reading it here. However, for those that are curious, it'll look like this when you finally get it. What's important to note is that at the bottom of the form is your actual pledge or supporter form. And we ask that you eventually bring this back up to give considered what you'd like to pledge. First of all, I would like to acknowledge those who are currently supporting us with a monthly pledge. We ask that you complete a form regardless of that fact. We're planning to have a special ceremony on the 19th of October to recognize those who are participating in the program. However, if you cannot be here on that time, you're welcome to put your pledge cards into the facility Donna baskets. So how do you do your support? We have 3 methods, the first of which is through PayPal. You can use your credit card there. You would go onto our website. If you're not familiar with our website, we have some cards in the back by the Donna basket. It'll give you the website location. You can do your donations there or your monthly pledges there. We'll also take a check, and if you would like to, you can either mail that check if you're going to be out of town on the month that you're supposed to be supporting, or if you wish, you're also welcome to put it into the Donna basket. We'll also take cash. The cash should be placed in an envelope. The cash should be handed to me. No. Again, the cash can be put into our Donna baskets back there. The pledge starts whenever you're ready. It can start tonight, it can start tomorrow, it can start next week, your next payday, next month, or even next year. However, the pledge does end on December 31st of 2015. My final wish is that if you could, that we would each take this home and seriously consider the words expressed herein to the document you're going to look at. It comes from the heart. If it moves you, I wrote it. If it didn't move you, Ian wrote it. The space works for us. This space works for us. However, it's not ours. We can use it at will. This isn't our home. Our home is somewhere, and somewhere there is a place for us.
Thank you so much. Well, amazingly, we are only 1 minute past our goal of 6:45, and so thanks to everybody so much for listening, and now we really want to hear from you, and just get questions, comments, anything that you'd like to share. Please.
Yeah.